You all, we are not licensed professionals. We are just here on this roller coaster called life, trying to be better friends to one another, trying to be better human beings on this planet. If you're tuning in, we are not opting out of therapy. We are not advocating that you listen to us and not see someone who is licensed and trained to help you with day-to-day life on how to cope and deal. So we advocate for therapy a lot here. We believe that everyone has something to talk to somebody about. So, just like to make that disclaimer that we're just here giving our opinions and having discussions week by week. And we're hoping that, maybe you can find something useful, or if at least find a little humor in this terrible, terrible rock we call the world.
In other words, if you listen to our advice and you get popped in the mouth, don't at us.
Yeah, don't at me because you may get popped in the mouth again.
Welcome back to the Friendship University, the podcast where we meet up every Friendship Friday to make sure that in us being a little less trash every week encourages you to be a little less trash yourself. We are all about relationships, building, because people are your greatest resource. And I am joined here again with the lovely Tarrah Cobell. It's not Cobell, but I just like Cobell. It gives a little ring to it. The singer, songwriter, actress. She be on
Actress, you're adding
Broadway.
things
I be adding things because
every
I'm just
week.
sticking it
Everything
to
there's a
the
new
twisted.
thing.
Every week you're just gonna have a new thing. Every single week that you join us, you're
I'm
gonna
not
have
an
a new
actress,
thing.
y'all. I'm not an actress.
You be on Broadway. You've done a little Broadway.
No,
You sang Broadway
am I?
and won.
I did. That's
So
true. That is true. I
so
forgot.
and won.
Remind me,
So
friend. Remind me.
you had sang the Wizard of Oz.
I
Now
did.
I'm sorry, the Wiz,
The
because there's
Wiz.
a difference. And if you don't know the difference, please go Google Wizard of Oz and the Wiz are two different things.
Period.
Sang the Wiz key signature song again. If you do not know that song, please go look it up by the one and only Diana Ross.
Home.
And won
I did.
that competition.
I
So,
did.
welcome back to another episode of the Friendship University Friendship Friday.
Pew, 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 pew. Ra-ba, ra-ba-ba, ba.
Hold me up, friend, while I laugh. I can't do the blah. I'll be trying my
Ra-ba-ba.
best. Excellent, excellent, excellent. How are you doing this
I'm
evening?
doing really well. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. God is
Mm-hmm.
good and all the time, saints.
And all the time, yes,
God
God
is
is good.
good.
All the time, yes, He's good all the
Um,
time.
yeah. I'm good. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. We have been experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties, but nothing is going to stop this conversation if I have anything to do with it. And if my producer has anything to do with it,
Shout out.
we are going to get this out to the people. We had some technical difficulties last week. It's a learning roller coaster. We are all learning. We are all getting better every single day. If you don't want to give me grace, that's fine. Just know that if you don't give grace, grace won't be given unto you. And so, with that, how have your last 7 days been? You've been kind of busy. It's your peak season.
Yeah.
Brides, prom.
Yeah, it is. It's peak season. It's been busy. Um, um, yeah. Um, just a lot going on. I sang this weekend. Got to go to some events. Got to spend some time with friends. Celebrated a friend's birthday. So it's been good. I'm blessed. Like for real, for real. I think the last few weeks have been kind of tough, but I feel like um, it's just always something to be grateful for. Like always, even like the hard times. It's like, man, it could have been this and this happened and that went well. I'm still might be dealing with this over here, but that at least did this. So I'm grateful for that, you know? So yeah, how about you? What's up? What's up? How was your last 7 days? 45,
It's been.
oh, sorry. Boo-doo-boo-boo.
We'll get into that in a second because you asked a very interesting question while we're off camera, and I think it would be very interesting to go over with the people who are listening. But my last
Okay,
7 days have been really good. I got out into my new city, saw some things. They had a few festivals. They had a couple of live DJs. You know, I'm a sucker for some good live music.
period.
So I got in where I fit in, and I did what I could. And I realized I be tired now when I go out. I be your girl be want to just like rest. Like Homer Simpson in them covers. He like all the way up here. I really be feeling that now. I really be
No,
like,
but we
what are
gotta
you
get
doing
out
this
the
weekend?
house. We gotta get out the
I know, and I've been pushing myself, especially because I'm in a new city, right? So I'm just like trying to meet new people, and anybody who's listened to this podcast or anybody who knows me knows I'm a people person. I really like to get out there. I really like to make connections and meet people and get to know things. So it's been interesting. I did that. I went to like this Parisian French market festival on Sunday, which was
That
really
sounds so
nice.
fun. Oh my
It
God.
was very fun. And so,
I'm like,
I'm
you're
I'm
living
not
it
an
out.
Oprah in the sense of I love bread. I love bread. No. I really could do without bread. Like I do like it. It's a bonus when you go to restaurants and you have it and you know what I'm saying we can have the debate on who got the best free
I
bread when it comes to the table.
I really enjoy bread with butter, like and thoroughly enjoy bread with like
I
Irish
have
nice
enjoyed
butter.
it. Yeah, I enjoy, but I don't crave it. So I don't buy bread a lot when I go to the store. I'm not really like I'm gonna make a burger or a sandwich type of person. If I do, I'll use like a lettuce wrap or something. But I had bought some bread earlier this week, these sweet Hawaiian rolls from Whole Foods, which I was tearing up, right? I don't even know why. And then I went to the Parisian market and it was bread everywhere. And I was like, I am so stuffed.
Mm,
Like, I am so stuffed with bread. I mean, that's not to say that I didn't buy bread to bring back home to eat later in my life. But at the moment, no, I could not partake. But it was excellent. They had live music. Um, they had great like pastries and just whatever you think of Paris. Like that's very. I'll say this: if it's very commercial when you think about Paris, that's what they had.
mm,
So it was nice. It was a fun time, and yeah, now I'm here. Another week, another Monday. We made it to
did
another week,
we
and
really?
that's a blessing. Yes. So you know how we do. Before we hop into the topics, you all know that you can anticipate episodes from us every Friday, Friendship Fridays. And we are going to be having Tarrah on. We may have some other people on. You just never know. Just tune in and you'll see what we have in store. So let's hop into some of these recent events that have been happening in society lately that I felt like would be a really good conversation to have with someone of your caliber.
Honored.
Um, One I wanted to talk about. So I don't know if you saw, but Drake not only released a response diss track, but he used AI. And in that AI, he used, and if you don't know what AI stands for, that's artificial intelligence. He used the likeness of the voice of Tupac, and he also used the voice of Snoop Dogg in that with some of his verses. And so there's been a lot of conversation with artists and a lot of it's been one way, right? A lot of artists have really felt a way about AI having the jurisdictions that it has. So I wanted to speak to you as someone who is an artist. You make music, you do inspirational speaking. You're out there a lot with your voice. What's your current takes on AI and like the pushing for more regulation around it from other creators?
I absolutely think there should be regulation of it. I'll first say this as an artist. I feel like artists are used to pushing the norms and doing things out of the box. And I think Drake probably was like, yeah, this gonna get him. We're gonna do something never been done before. And we gonna, which I understand. They're very much pioneers. They're very much gonna push the edge and push the culture forward and, really, have some out of the box thoughts that can be really cool, right? But when you're using someone's likeness, their actual voice, their face, their all of that stuff, just like you can't use um, people's faces on whatever you want to do. You just can't use company symbols and put them wherever, or you get sued. I don't think you should be able to use someone's voice. Like that's a God given. That's their person, and to use it artificially is just wrong on every level, in my opinion. Which I'm very surprised that as an artist he would do that because he
Yeah.
didn't know. Especially, it's one thing to do Tupac because he's not alive, which is still wrong because he has an estate. But to use a living person's actual voice when you're supposed to pay that person to be on your stuff, it's like that's wrong. You can't do that.
Well,
So
Tupac's
it,
estate is they're pushing back now.
yeah, which
They filed a motion. They're suing
yeah, you should be able
the
to do it because
it's yeah.
I don't think he wanted it done on his side. That means anybody can use your stuff and be like, yeah, Drake was on my stuff, like, and he wasn't. So yeah, it absolutely should be regulated in my opinion because that's someone's creative voice. That's their that they developed to sing those songs or to rap that way. And then for technology to be able to strip that and superimpose that in another way, that's just, it takes years to develop your singing voice or years to develop your lyricism or your cadence or your flow. Years of practice, years of study. So to take something that someone has dedicated years and years and years to fine tune and perfect to get it to the level where people enjoy it and want to purchase it and want to support it, and then take it and use it in a way that they didn't authorize, I think it's just clearly not right.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well. I mean, it's for a lot of people, it's kind of like this cool new engineer engineer-esque like creation. So it's like, oh, that's so cool that you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But everything's all well and dandy till it's you, till you know what I'm saying. They have the police have a recording of you admitting to a crime, and you're like, well, I didn't do that, and they're like, well, it sounds just like you,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what I'm saying, like. AI is only going to get better over time. I'm actually pretty surprised. Like, I knew AI like this existed, but the AI I'm for sure that Drake used is not available to the general public. I would say you
Mm-hmm.
probably do have to pay for it. You do have to like go into it. I've done work in AI in roles that I've done with other companies, and I've had to do like deep dives into AI, and I've seen some of the capabilities with like some of these products that you aren't going to use on a day-to-day basis, like the ones that actually cost a lot of money. I've been able to get my hands on, like, no disrespect to the chat GPT, but like, I won't say names of these companies, but some of these companies that I've been able to like, it's hundreds if not thousands of dollars for memberships that I've been able to get my hands on with AI. So I've been able to see what is just a microcosm of what's possible, and even that's like really intense when you think about it getting smarter it getting more push, it getting more backing, and just different things like that. So I think I'm all for Tupac. Congratulations to his estate for standing up for what they thought was right. I appreciate them saying that, I think they said something along the lines of, we never okayed this and we would never okay anything like this to begin with. So I think it's very important that we realize that AI is going to have a place in society in the future. And now is the time to decide the jurisdictions
Yeah, for sure.
and the heaviness that it's going to have within our society.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I think for artists, though, I just really wanted to ask you that question because I just thought it was interesting to really think about, like, what does that look like for someone who, has a unique voice or has this talent, and someone can just come in and be like, well, I like this person's voice, I'm just going to use this. And you may not even know it. I mean, we you don't even think about it in microcosms. Someone could just use your voice as a background vocal and somebody might not know. It's like, oh, they could just
Yeah,
layer you.
yeah, and what if they use your voice to sing things you don't want to sing, or to say things
Yeah,
you don't want to say, that don't align with your beliefs or your standards, but they're like, yeah, her voice is great. Let's just use it. It should
yeah,
be just like your likeness. It's like, what if somebody puts your picture on somebody's body that's not your body and then sells it? Like, they shouldn't be able to do that. So it's just, it needs boundaries. Everything in the world needs boundaries. So that's just another thing that needs boundaries, and they need to act quickly.
I think so too. So speaking of artists and singing, we just had Neo on Tiny Desk, and I'm
Okay.
sure at this point you are familiar with who Neo is and what Tiny Desk is and everything like that. So I thought it would be interesting to talk about, like for those of you who don't know, Tiny Desk is a kind of like a mini concert series hosted by NPR in their office, very small crowd, very intimate. Who is someone you would love to see on Tiny Desk that you haven't seen yet?
Okay, let's start with the facts. I could just run down my whole, like, people that I love because they haven't been on time.
You can give, let's say you give top three.
Lauren
Top
Hill,
three
number
people.
one. Lauren Hill.
Okay, yeah. I'll give you, here's what I'll say. The caveat to, or not the caveat, but the addition to that would be you can have five dead or alive.
Okay, Lauren Hill.
Okay.
That's number one. I can't imagine Michael Jackson. He's my favorite, like one of my favorite artists. But I cannot imagine him on Tiny Desk. But I'm sure it'd be sick. You know what I'm saying? Like, how, what would that
He would probably do something out of this world that we've probably never seen before. It would
thing
probably be
upside
crazy.
down or something? I don't know. Like,
He would,
he's upside down
yeah.
in front of the books, reading the book up. I don't know. It would be crazy. But okay, so you threw the dead and alive. That kind of mixed me up. But okay, like I don't know
Okay,
what
we'll
my
just do three.
okay,
We'll just do three
just
then.
alive. Let's just do
Hmm.
alive. Okay, so for me, Lauren Hill number one.
Okay.
I would love to see like I would love to see like I love Casey and JoJo.
Listen,
Jodeci on Tiny Desk, would that be not epic? That would be like crazy.
see, here's the thing though. Casey and JoJo and Jodeci are two different
I
things.
know,
Do
but
we
I feel
want just
like
Casey and JoJo, or do we want all of Jodeci and then
yes, that's
Casey
what I
and
would want.
JoJo just break
I would want
off?
Jodeci, and then
Okay,
I would want Casey and JoJo sing something by themselves, right?
okay.
That'd be epic because I love them still to this day. And
Hmm.
then Jill Scott. I think Jill Scott needs to be on Tiny Desk. That'd be freaking awesome.
Absolutely.
I
I
think they
agree
should
with
just do an
those.
ode to like R&B of the 90s.
Like the '90s R&B.
Like like
Yeah.
like NDRE and like music and like these people that
Well, music Soul Child, I believe, has had a Tiny Desk.
okay, I have to go back and look at it. But
Yeah.
NDRE, I don't remember her having a tiny desk. Like that'd be crazy.
Not that I remember. I've really been a fan of Tiny Desk for a long time. It's interesting that it's garnering so much interest lately, which I love because it's really bringing a lot of capital. It's really bringing a lot of attention to NPR, even though that's just one sector of NPR's NPR music. But I love NPR. I've actually volunteered and worked for them in the past, and they are, there's something like a PBS, right? They are
Mhm.
publicly funded. They really work off of the money that comes in from the support of the people who listen to them. So I love that Tiny Desk is blowing up. And I totally agree. A '90s Tiny Desk like
90s
series, like
R&B
'90s
month.
R&B,
Month.
'90s R&B would totally be um would totally be epic. I feel like if it was just
Epic.
like a series.
That'd be
I would
fire.
also I could even go for like a '90s, even though they've done some of these people. I could even go for like a '90s hip hop
Mm-hmm.
kind of deal,
Mm-hmm.
like an Outcast Together.
Outcast. That
Um,
would be sick. That'd be so
yeah,
wild.
like a Tribe Called Quest together.
That would be
If I'm not
amazing.
mistaken, I don't think they've done a Tiny Desk.
Mhm.
So yeah, things like that, like
Big Boy and
a
Andre on Tiny Desk. What? That would shut
yeah.
it down. That would be
So
epic.
for sure, and to
Yeah,
my
that'd be
knowledge, I don't believe they've done a Tiny Desk together. I know Big Boy himself has done a Tiny Desk. But I don't believe Outcast has done a Tiny Desk together. And you all can correct us if I'm wrong and send us to the link so we can see the ethnicity of it. But yeah, I totally agree. Tiny Desk. It was interesting. Did you get a chance to watch Neo's Tiny Desk by chance?
just clips. I didn't watch the whole thing.
Okay. Well, the conversation really has been around his. So one, a lot of people really didn't understand his pen game and how many songs he's
Oh
actually written
yeah,
because
he's a
he
real
not only
songwriter
did right, he not only did the songs from his actual release studio albums, but he did a lot of songs
that he
of
wrote,
people of artists that he wrote
like
that like
Babyface
went
did,
big.
like Babyface did.
Yes, like Babyface
Hmm.
did. So that was a pretty interesting conversation. And the second part of that conversation was people was like, we really tried to talk about Neo and his singing, but he really brought it on Tiny Chat. And I think the conversation is like there. I will say one thing that I like about today and what we have going on is that it leaves a broader spectrum of what vocal ability can sound like. I really think back in the day, like the '90s, '80s, '70s, there was this aesthetically pleasing sound you had to have in your voice to be considered a vocalist or be
Hmm.
considered someone who was an artist or who could sing. And I think today there's a broader spectrum of like what people can sound like to be considered a vocalist.
Hmm.
So, are there any like artists you can think of that maybe don't fit a standard vocal category, like someone you're like, oh, this person, it sounds a little different
Hmm.
than what most people would consider like a vocalist or someone who like sings down.
So it what? So say the question again. So is there anyone that I like or that I feel or what's the help me?
Is there anyone that you can think of? I mean, yeah, maybe that you like or you've listened to and you're like, oh, this sound is very different than what most people would consider like traditional vocalism or like traditional sounds in whatever genre, maybe R&B or pop or whatever.
That I really like.
Yeah.
I only listen to singers. Sorry. I'm a singer. Here's the thing. I'm a singer first, and then I grew up playing instruments, so I've been playing instruments since I was 7, 6, 7. So
Mhm.
I've always been, and I grew up in church. So I've always been around like super talented vocally people. You know what I'm saying? Like these
Mhm.
people to the point where I was like, I don't want to sing because I will never sound like these people. You know what I'm saying? Even
Mhm.
though until I, continue to grow and grow and grow in my gift. But um, I think there are some people in gospel that like for instance, a friend of mine, Travis Green. He's not the traditional vocalist, right? He's like a good singer, but he's not like Marvin Winans. You understand what I'm saying? Traditionally. But there is a space for him, and he's like a musician and all of that. And he's written great songs. And so when you add the package together, it's kind of like Rihanna. Okay, so take Rihanna. I think this is a great conversation because I had this conversation with most people. So take Rihanna, for example. She's not the traditional vocalist. She's not like a power vocalist, like a Mariah Whitney, type situation like that, or Faith Evans, these power vocalists that go in there, they can sing anything and shut it down. But she can sing. But what makes her so huge is the whole package. She's beautiful. She can sing. She can perform. She's a great performer. She's a fashion icon. And then, add all the ability her in market, in the market where she's done all that, has clothing lines and all this amazing beauty line.
She
You
even entered the actress space
Yeah, and for
a couple
very
of times.
shortly, for a short time. But
Hmm.
if you add all these things together, the summation of all these things makes her incredibly unique. So some people call that like stacking. Like if you stack all these different things that you do uniquely together, it makes you like a superpower. So just because you might not be the huge like a power vocalist, but if you maybe you're a dancer, and then like take a Janet Jackson for instance. She's not a
Hmm.
power vocalist, but she's iconic because of she can perform. She's a performer. She's a dancer. She can sing. She's beautiful. She knows how to story tell with Rhythm Nation. It was like all of this imagery and this amazing art that's happening. So you don't have to be like the most amazing singer in the world to have this amazing career. In my opinion, it's just you have to be uniquely you in a way that touch reaches people, and that either depending on what you want to do, that entertains, inspires, all of those things. So I think it's more happen to, it's not necessarily about just straight up vocal only. There's so much room for just art. Can you put on a great show? Can you tell a great story, with the song? Can you present? Now, if you can do all of those things, I believe, my humble opinion, that makes you a superpower, because it's like,
Hmm.
oh, she told this great story and she performed and she's pretty and she, you have this amazing or artistic, unique presentation, and that makes you memorable. Kind of like a Janelle Monáe. She's memorable because she's very uniquely herself, and has an aesthetic that makes you remember her. So I think there's something to be said about people who have signature things, and it makes us
Hmm.
remember them. So we'll never forget. I think Michael Jackson was the king of signature. He was the king of that. And then I think he gave that to his sister, and she became, her signature self, and really, honed in on the great things that she's good at. So I think if you do what's authentic to you and you're real about your message, even if you're not the baddest vocalist in the world, you can still really touch people with your art.
I agree with that. That's very much so well said. I agree with all the people that you said. And I think it also like leads way for that kind of like a new box, right? That's
Yeah.
never been checked. So that kind of uniqueness is like, okay, you don't have to put me into any of these boxes, and it can open the door for other people's, because you say Janet Jackson, which I personally feel opened the door for like, I mean, A.
Aaliyah.
Marie, was it Aaliyah,
Aaliyah, the
which,
Aaliyahs
you
of the
know,
world. Yeah, for sure.
Aaliyah's, the A. Marie's, the Janelle Monae's, the Rihanna's of the world, all of
Hmm.
those people who were able to say, okay, you know, this is not where I fit in, but I have all of these things to offer for sure. And it it builds like a total package that makes myself memorable and
But
marketable.
but
And yeah,
you do have to. We do have to kind of have two different categories because you got the performer category and then you got the vocalist category. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like Whitney, she performed, of course, because she had energy, she had passion and all that. But she wasn't running around dancing all over the stage later on. Like when she hit the bodyguard phase, she wasn't really doing like crazy, crazy. She was like
right.
just blowing, and she really didn't have to. And so it just really
But that
depends
was
on
her be uniquely her, I
that
think.
was
It
her
was her
uniquely
being
her.
yeah,
So I think whatever you do, just make it uniquely you. Like of course you take Beyonce for example. She is a singer, and she is a performer's performer. So if you take those two things and slap them together, now you got like a freaking monster. So it just really depends on what your goal is. I think her goal probably was to be a singer, to refine her singing ability to the highest degree as she could, and to refine her performing to the highest degree. And so I think it just has to do with like what you want to do. Like maybe you don't want to be like a full out performer. Maybe you want to be more of a storyteller, songwriter. It just really depends on what your goal is. And I love the one thing I love. I love that it's room for all of it. It's room for all of it. We never get enough. We always want more music. We always want more uniqueness. We always want more fashion. We always want more art. It just never stops. So I love that.
great, great. So I guess the last little conversation as far as current news going on is TikTok and the
Mm.
ban that they're talking about. You're a little bit more experienced with TikTok than I am. I am newly getting into it. It's a pretty highly energetic space, nonstop, and I just I don't I have mixed feelings on the band just because I'm just now getting into it, but I can guess understand but not understand. What I will say is I've seen a lot of creators of POC or people like us who have had difficulty with um
Instagram.
garnering the traction that they wanted on TikTok or monetizing it or that a lot of people have just been like people use my voice, people use my snippets, people use they stitch me, and a lot of it is people of color who say this, and I don't get paid for it. They ban my video, but other people use it,
That's
or
wild.
I get blocked, or I get mass reported, and then
Wow.
I gotta go through all of this. So I don't know what's been your kind of like interaction with TikTok, your what I'm saying, like
I got on it because I felt like I had to. But here's what I will say. I think there's pluses and minuses to both sides. I feel like it's a lot of information sharing. That it's really
mhm,
good. That especially on the health side. I'm on the like natural path people side of TikTok, and I feel like people sharing their what they've learned from naturally and holistically. I think it's like a powerful thing. Um, Also, but as a former educator, I feel like I had our kids in a chokehold, and that's all they want to do. It's like do TikTok dances in my class, which, you know, I think kids don't. I think it might be helpful for them, honestly, to not have TikTok, but then they're just gonna go to another app. Honestly, they're
mhm.
just gonna go to Snapchat, which is a lot of them are still on Snapchat. So I haven't dug enough into the research of why the government would be doing this. And all I'm going to say is we're not known to be doing things for the benefit of the
of
society.
the people.
Right. It's usually
Hmm.
some other behind the scenes
Hmm.
stuff going on. I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying that I would be interested to know the real reason as to why they want to ban it.
Yeah,
Um,
which if you're not in those rooms, you probably will never know the
we'll
real
probably never
reason.
know
But
why they really want to.
yeah, there have
Till
been
later
talks.
on.
I saw multiple conversations about it, privacy, and just it being the primary source of news for people now, and it's just kind of could be a little detrimental. Which I have a I have a hot take on social media, period, because I know the empowerment that knowledge can give you, and
Yeah.
social media gives you a false sense of knowledge to me.
Mm.
Sometimes, a lot of times, it's like a, and so then there's this empowerment that kind of comes with it. It's like you don't really know the full story. Like for instance, I'm someone who works in the mental health spectrum, and I've been studying this, and I'm going to school for it, and I'm doing things to like get what I need to get to be able to help people. And yes, social media has really given a lot of people the opportunity to feel seen, to feel heard, to even put a name to things that they may not have had a name to before. But it's also given people this false sense of community where it's like
Yeah.
that's actually not what you're going through, and you're attaching yourself to something because it's kind of, if you know anything, there's a without going too far in depth, there are catalogs that you use in the psychiatric realm, in the mental health aspect, that have these jurisdictions. It's kind of similar to the medical field, where you
Mm-hmm.
have to identify something, and it could be two traits that distinguishes one thing from another.
Mm-hmm.
And because you don't know that, and you see these one or two things, and you're like, well, this is a, and then it just makes me feel like people attach themselves to it, and then that becomes their identity, and then it's just like that's actually not what's happening. We can actually, I'm saying, if we could get you the help that you needed, we could get you the help that you needed, for lack of better terms. And so I feel like social media has just really done this catch 22 thing where it has built community, but it's also built false sense of community. And it's a little detrimental. Here's what I'm, here's how can I put it? It can be detrimental. When they say don't judge a book by its cover, I think about it in the sense it could be detrimental to take something on social media at face value and
Mm-hmm.
judge it as that, and
Yeah.
then just run with it.
Yeah.
That can really be dangerous. It's dangerous to like think that you know about something just because you saw a 5 minute or even 30-minute TikTok about it. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And TikTok progressively, I saw, kept elongating the time of your videos, right? Because it used
Mm-hmm.
to be 30 seconds, right?
Yeah,
It used
I
to be
think
30 seconds.
yeah, I think that was so that they can compete with YouTube, you know? Mm-hmm.
It used to be 30 seconds, and now I think you could do something as long as like 30 minutes, maybe even longer. And so a lot of people were taking these 30-second clips, 60-second clips, 90-second clips, and taking them at face value and taking them as like the be end all be all. And it's like that's actually not the beginning or the end of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I'm gonna look into it. I agree with you.
I
The
do
world, especially America, never does anything that's not for its own benefit. So
I do feel like it has given just such an amazing opportunity to entrepreneurs as an entrepreneur myself.
absolutely.
And I'm really grateful for the opportunity that's given. There are other platforms that that people will probably have to move to, make up for that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's given people an amazing opportunity. So,
That's the second part of the coin, right? Because I know you as an entrepreneur, you've been able to utilize social media as a
oh yeah,
platform to bring
honestly,
in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most of my stuff, for whatever reason, I have a personal thing about Instagram. Even though Instagram don't love me like I be trying to love it. I'm
Oh,
like, just love me back, okay?
love
Just
don't
love me back.
exist anymore.
Okay. But in Jesus' name, we're gonna have a better relationship. But I do get a lot of clients from Instagram. I treat as someone in this content creation space, I do treat Instagram like um, um, a living, breathing resume, visual resume. And I just think someone can come to your page and binge your content and say, "Oh yeah,
That's
they're
a
good at."
great way to put that. A living, breathing resume. That's
Yeah, it's
great.
a living, breathing, like visual resume. And so someone can come
Yeah.
and see what you do over time. And so for me,
Mhm.
it's not as much about likes, even though I would love to have more influence so that I can put out something and like it can move quickly. But even though, which I think they kind of did that, so you would have to like pay for more, like boosting the posts and things like that. So they can make more money because usually in
Mhm.
the past it was just organic, but now it
Mhm.
seems to me that they want you to pay to boost these
Yeah.
and they'll move it out. And that's just my personal opinion. But
I've heard that a lot from a few other like content creators. Not a
and
few, quite a few of
and
content
if you're
creators. It's
and if
big and small.
yeah, and if you're willing to pay, they'll move it out. They will move it. But
Mhm.
if you're that's not something you want to do, then it's just. But what I will say is it's powerful. It's been a powerful tool for me to in a moment give someone my Instagram and they see all of my work for the past, like a ton of my work for the past like year, a few years, and they can scroll and
Mhm.
say, oh wow, this person has consistently shown up in this space. They're trustworthy, and
Yeah.
I can trust that they're going to do a good job because as someone in the makeup space, they can see our work is like consistently good on different colors, on different types of women, skin tones, all kind of stuff, looks, and we have a clear aesthetic that we do. So it's a very, very powerful tool if you just keep showing up. But as an artist, we can get discouraged. So I just want to encourage all the artists out there that are putting out content and you getting 5 likes. And you're like, this blankety blank is for the birds. I quit. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, I quit, which, we can be discouraged when people don't
Mhm.
love what we do and we put our heart and our soul and our put our heart, our souls and our toes into this project and nobody's
Yeah.
liking it, nobody's sharing it, and nobody's doing anything with it.
Man.
We can get so discouraged. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like why even try? But you have to remember, like, um, you do what you do because it's what you love to do, right? And even if it doesn't get shared as much as you want. One day, someone's gonna come to your page and see all of your hard work and say, "Oh, this person is consistent. This person is trustworthy. This person is, they endured and they weren't getting all the likes and they've been continuing and continuing and continuing. I'm gonna help them, or I like what they do, or I want to bring them on to this platform." So, I would say just this my little encouraging, empowering moment for the day. Don't give up to all of the artists that are working very, very hard and really putting your heart, soul, and your toes into what you do because someone's going to see it. Keep posting, keep sharing, make your stuff bingeable. I didn't make that up. I heard that from someone. I think his name is Darius Daniels. He was just like, people need to come on your page and see that you
That's good,
have
actually.
so
Make it bingeable.
so when people see it, like they scroll and they're watching
Wow.
and they're watching and they're
I
watching and they're
know. I'm
watching.
just thinking about the amount of times I've gone to a person's page and I like the first photo, I like whatever video, and all the videos kind of fall in alignment. So I just keep going back and going back and going back and going
And
back.
that
That's
and now you
good.
have a supporter and now you have a fan and they're like, oh, I love their content. Boom, I'm gonna go watch.
Yes.
I'm gonna follow them because they put out. So I would just encourage you. We all get down. We all get discouraged. Like even me, I'm just like, oh my God, I gotta record this week. But here's what I would say: never stop planning. Plan your content days, and really stack that content and just put it out without thinking. Just say, okay, I'm just gonna put it out. And do your analytics. Look at what's working. Look at what's not. Look at what's resonating with people. But never
Mhm.
stop creating. Never, ever, ever stop creating. Yay! We can have the
Tarrah's
clap.
tidbits of wisdom. Yay! Um,
Yay!
well, wonderful gowns, wonderful discussions, wonderful takes.
You know what's funny? I literally just saw that clip and I was like, that's where that came
You had never seen it before? Oh my god, I didn't know you hadn't seen it
with
before. I
Aretha
would have been
Franklin.
showed. Yeah, I thought I shared that with you a long time ago. She had that clip had me in the chokehold for a long time. I was literally using that in business. Like I would be on Slack, and if anyone is familiar with business, Slack is just a messaging system that you use in companies. And someone would ask me my opinion, and I would put that clip. Beautiful gowns. And they would know exactly what I meant by that. Did I like the presentation? Absolutely not. Beautiful gowns though. They showed up very good. Um, so yeah, I thought it would be interesting because you recently sent me a clip. It was a funny little video on Instagram. You know, that's one of our love languages. We send them back and forth. It's just
100%. Me.
me.
Let me know you care.
Uh,
Let me know you care. If you're
so
not
you
sending memes to me, who you sending them to? You're sending them to somebody. So who is it?
I mean, sometimes people just ain't sending them at all.
Nah, you're
I
sending them to
recently
somebody.
Nah, I recently saw a video of someone who made a video and they were like, to my friends, I love you, but don't send me another reel. You've sent me six already. Please let me just catch up and then I will respond.
I mean,
Don't send
catching
another
up, but
one.
to not send them at all. I'm not saying you have to send them every single day, but I'm saying if 2 weeks go by and you ain't send me now, what? You ain't
That's
seen
fair.
nothing funny. You want the
You
shit?
ain't even
Not
thinking
nothing.
about me.
You
You're
don't
not
care.
even thinking about
You don't
me.
care. You don't love me. You don't love me. Who you loving? Who you memeing?
Who you loving, who you
Who
want to be
you
hugging.
who
Uh,
you really talking to? Cause it's not me. It's not
It's not
me.
me. That's fair.
Okay.
I'm a memer. I'll send it. I don't care. I could be 8 backdraw. I could be at 10. You
Don't
ain't
care.
seen. I'ma still send it. It's funny. Look at it, and you better watch them all.
You better
So
watch
you better watch
every
every last
last one.
one, because I'm gonna bring it up in the
I'm
conversation
gonna
later,
bring it
and
up
I
and I
want
wanna
you
know,
to
did you
know that
see it? Did you see that one I sent you about the dog playing the
okay.
radio?
So I
Did you see it?
Did you see that one about the baby that had spelled out the alphabet in the alphabet soup? Because I had sent that
Period.
to you, right?
I need you to
You
see
better
that. That's
know.
gonna make
I
your
need
day.
you to see it.
I
It's
just
gonna make
want to
your
make your
day.
day.
I thought about you, and I need you to think about me thinking about you. So watch it. Period.
Period.
Okay. You had sent a reel that I thought was really interesting, and it was a spoof of a friend who was making the conversation about them. So it was a trio, and a guy was talking about, oh my god, I finally got the job of my dreams. I've been applying,
Girl, I'm
and the
finna start
one friend
crying.
was like, oh my god, tell me more. And then the other friend was like, that is so great. My mama lost their job 2 weeks ago, and then Fragrant was like, you told us that already. Like, what is that? She was like, oh, I told you. And then it just kind of spurred from there. And then it was like, oh, I'm so happy. I've been working so hard. And then the friend who was trying to teach and see, trying to seek all of the attention, kind of just kept making it all about them, right? Like, oh, that I'm so happy for you. I just don't know what me and my mama gonna do though, because she lost her job. And then, you know what I'm saying? So
Then she was like, I'm pregnant.
I'm pregnant, right? It was like, it's Rodney. And then it was like pregnant, and then it just kind of really escalated from there.
We gotta put
And
it
I
in
thought
there.
that was
We gotta put the clip in there somehow. Cause
please,
boy,
if
that
we
was
can
so
put it in
funny.
there, I will send it to our. I don't know. I can't make any promises. It could potentially, the link to it could be in our
Man,
description
that
box or
was
whatever.
funny.
But it was very funny. It was also kind of triggery for me because I've been in the situation where I'm the girl who's celebrating someone, and the other friend is trying to make it about them, and I'm just like, I don't want to have to put you in your place right now, but you really are blowing the mood. So I thought it would be really interesting to talk about how we handle attention seekers in
Man,
your
that's
friend group.
tough.
And it doesn't even have to be friend group, right? It can be one on one.
I
Sometimes you're
know
talking to
several
someone
people.
and they will circle it back around, baby.
I know
It
several
just,
people. I know
you know, several
several
people?
people that
Really?
cannot. No, I know multiple people that cannot
Wow.
not make something about them or their kids.
Okay. I used to know a lot of people like that, but I know more people now that I know less people who make it about them and more people who make it about their kids. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's either about them or their kids, which is
Hmm.
the same to me because it's still about
It's the
your
same because
stuff.
that's still an extension of you. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and yeah.
So I think that's great. So how? Okay, so you know a lot of people. You
This is a
encounter
touchy
this.
subject, y'all. So if we step on your toe, Jesus is a healer. But
If we
listen,
stepping on
it
your
needs to be
toes, then the
said.
shoe may fit. The shoe may fit if the shoe is feeling a little tight. Okay,
Tight. It's tight,
like
but it's right.
it's tight, but it's right. If it's feeling Cinderella-ish, you may be the belle of the attention seeker ball. Just
It may
get it
be
to,
you. It may be.
please,
It may
cause
be you.
don't and don't take
If you
offense
mad
to it.
about this conversation, let me put my glasses on right now. If you is mad about this conversation, you it's probably you. It's probably
It's
you. It's probably you. But don't listen here. Listen. We're here. I wrote a song about it. Like there you go. Let it change.
let it. She definitely did write a song
Let
about
it
it.
change.
Let it change you.
Let it change.
Let it change you. Cause
Uh,
you
we need to
cannot
grow.
be doing that. I just gotta I'm gonna put that out there right now, and then we can get a little softer with it. You can't be doing that, especially the older you get. Everybody's
Oh,
got their
we.
own lives, and like a lot of times people will build up stuff. As the older you get, you're like, oh, I got this that happened to me, because life accomplishments. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna say they slow down the older you get, but like they mean a lot more
Yeah.
kind of the older you get. And so people be really excited to share that with people. You just can't be stealing people's thunder like that.
So
That's
let's go
rude.
back to the issue. Is the issue is
Yes.
as friends we need to what?
Okay. Let me ask this quick. Let's start from the beginning. How do you identify an attention seeker?
Whew, this tough. Because just because you're an attention seeker, can we label that another name? Maybe it could sound better. Like someone who needs additional attention or desires additional attention. Well, it's the same thing. Anyway, I'm just trying to make it sound better for some people. Okay, so
I mean, we can label it someone who always makes the situation about them
okay,
somehow.
that
I
doesn't sound
just
better. It doesn't sound better. Okay, anyway. Okay, how do
It
you
is
know?
what it is.
You know because I think I've been on both sides. The younger I wasn't self aware, right? I was not self aware. It was just like, man,
Absolutely.
this is my mind. This is
We
what's
all
at the
were there.
top of my mind. So
Hmm.
I'm just gonna share. Blah blah blah. And but attention seeker is someone who, in the midst of someone else's moment, they will take that moment and turn the attention onto them. It's very difficult for them to keep the focus on that person. They will somehow find a relatable story or relatable something and then reposition the focus onto them. Here's the
Yeah,
thing. Here,
yes, go ahead.
here's the thing. We think that that is making, like, sharing this common ground, and oh, you tell your
It's
story, I
making
tell my
connection.
story, and
It's
building
making connection.
connection. But it's
Hmm.
really not, because that person, as a friend, is coming to you to share this news, and they want you to hold space for them.
Hmm.
Like, they
Yeah.
want to get it all out. They want to share about what's going on in their life, and they want to share about that moment. They want to share that moment. And so for you to take that special moment and make it about you is wrong. I'm sorry. It's wrong as two left feet. Call it what it is, but you need to be able to hear someone's good news and let them keep that good news. And maybe the next conversation you can share, or later in the conversation after they've gotten it all out, right? They shared all the details of the story, and then what happened. And here's why it's a problem, because you didn't even ask any follow-up questions. You didn't ask about details. You didn't ask
That's
about
my,
story.
yup.
You didn't ask about how they felt about it. You didn't ask about the dream. Did you always want to do that? Oh man, how does it feel? What did your mom say? What did everybody else say? Okay, and then what was you thinking? Okay, wow. You didn't ask about any of that. All you did was
Yeah.
say, oh, okay, well, I did this, and now it's just like, it's gone. It's gone. It's gone. The thrill is gone. The thrill is gone.
Mhm.
It's gone.
You
You
done took
snatch,
their
you snatch,
thunder.
you snatched that little oxygen out the air, and you just took it away. And we have to do better about that. Like, we
We
all have
gotta,
done it. We're all
yeah.
guilty. We're all guilty.
Absolutely. And you think sometimes, and I'm so glad that you brought up the fact that sometimes when you hear someone's story, you have the urge to share a similar story in hopes that it will build that connection. Because I too used to be like that as well. Oh, this happened. Oh my God, that same thing happened to me. But that is not always the moment. Oftentimes, it's never the moment
Never.
when
It's
someone
never. It's never.
oftentimes unless someone explicitly is saying they're looking for that, like oftentimes it's never the moment, and it can really, I think it goes back into our conversation with showing up for people. And it's just like, you have to understand that people need their moments to unload and say what they need to say what you need to say,
Say
like,
what you need to say.
and like that, it's not your time to imprint yourself
Woo, that's
into
powerful.
their, like, it's just not your time to do that. Like, that's their stamp,
You
and
know,
they are doing this for a reason, and it's not your time to do that. And so I think it's really interesting because I feel like every single person at some point can identify a time where they could have been labeled an attention seeker,
100%.
whether they thought it or not, whether it was intended or not. At some point, you probably have done something that drew the attention off of the initial person who was saying what they needed to say, and it came back to you, and they had to draw it. Now, here's the kicker for me, because there are those situations, and then there are situations where people are innately continuing to do it. Because, okay, you share a story like the real you shared with me.
Mhm.
All right, we get it. This person got a job. You're relating to it because somebody lost a job. At that point, that should have been in the conversation. That person should have still been able to continue
Continue
what
with
they were
their,
saying.
if, yeah, 100%.
Now, if you are incessantly inserting yourself by way of relatability into someone else's story without them asking, you are, whether deliberately or not, trying to draw the attention back to you.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem lies. And then that's where we have to have the conversation about what is actually going on. Why do you feel the need to do
Why do
this?
you feel the need to
How,
do this?
how do we, tackle this in the future? And
Yeah.
so I think, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. 100% agree. I think also we need to look at 100%, like you said. I think there are a couple categories of people that we do this, or a couple reasons. Number one, maybe we just don't have a good listening skill. Like we are not skilled at being a listener, and
Yeah.
we're loquacious, or we have an ability to talk, we have ability to make people laugh. That's our thing. So kind of making jokes about ourselves is like how we, move throughout the world, kind of makes us special, or whatever. But
I think I'm gonna say this with that. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm gonna
Mhm.
just say this with that. I think even if that is your skill, as someone who is, in my opinion, pretty funny, um, if you don't know when to not insert yourself, you're still seeking attention,
Yeah,
inadvertently
a
or
hundred,
avertedly.
100%. And maybe you're not self-aware enough
Mhm.
to know. Maybe you just literally don't know you do it, and you just
Yeah.
literally don't know you're not a good listener. Like you don't know how to
Yeah.
intentionally say, "This is not my time to
Mhm.
talk. This is their time to share. This is my time to listen. This is my time to ask follow-up questions and genuinely be interested in what they are saying, literally, and literally hold space for them in that moment, and let it be about them, right? Maybe you literally don't know how to do that. Literally. You just don't know. And not
Some
that
people
you
don't
are
know.
a bad person and you're trying to be rude or disrespectful to people. You literally don't have that skill. Like some people are interrupters, right? Like they literally almost are ADHD, that it's a bad habit and they're used to interrupting people. They literally don't know it's really rude. They literally don't know, and they're really excited about what they have to say. They're not trying to be that way, but they literally just do not uh, really are aware that they're doing it. Um, I had a situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a situation with my older sister, and we got into a fight. And we're adults here. I come home to Chicago. My family's back in Chicago. I come home, and she's really excited to talk to me, but she keeps cutting me off in the middle
She
of
was
my sentence.
dominating.
In the middle of my sentence, and I'm like, it's hard enough because I'm an artist. The way that I think, my mind moves so fast and ideas come to me so fast. It's like if you cut me off in the middle of my idea, like my thought, I can't finish my thought. So you think you got the full thought, and it wasn't. So you're responding to an incomplete thought. And I'm notorious for saying, if you would let me finish my sentence, then you would understand. You will understand what I'm trying to say. So she kept cutting me off, and I said, stop interrupting me.
You had enough. You had enough.
I had
Enough
enough.
is enough is
I
enough
had
is enough. I
enough.
can't
Enough
go
is
on.
enough. And she was like, she couldn't believe me, and she was mad at me for the rest of the night, throwing shade at me for the rest of the night.
You
But
mad
what
at me?
she was mad at me. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. What I had to realize is that later on were able to joke and talk about it. But she was so excited to see me and us to be together again.
Mm.
She just wanted to get out her thoughts, and she would just interrupt. And she wasn't trying to, but she had to realize that she was, and that's something. And then she later admitted, she's like, I know I'm working on it. I do interrupt people, and I'm working on it. So
And
nobody
that's
had
growth,
really,
ladies and gentlemen. That is
yeah,
growth.
yeah, nobody had really told her that, hey, you interrupt people and it's rude. And so she's my family, so I was able to tell her. But yeah, like it's something that we need to be more aware of just in general. As friends to other friends, we need to not make things about us. It's not our moment.
Hmm.
It's not your moment. Just I know you have a similar story, but I know you have a similar scenario. I know your kid did this, but I hope this comes back to you in your brain.
I just so I totally agree with that. I've actually had similar moments. Um, I recently had a moment with my sister who we get together for Christmas and everything and like holidays at my mom's. And she did something. We were in the middle of opening up all of the kids' gifts. It's the kids' time. Like it's a lot of grandkids. So and she did something that like totally took the attention away, and even her kids was like trying to make sure she was okay and stuff. And I was like, girl, pull your grown A self together, okay? Because these are the moments your kids are gonna remember. Like, don't do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're a grown woman. Pull yourself together.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like it can happen so fast that we don't see it. I think the listening is a key aspect, right? So there's like listening and then there's active listening, right? And active listening isn't just so people have categorized listening and active listening as not just listening to respond but to understand. But the second part of active listening is to also hear key details in which you can recall in your response to them, to let them know that you have actively heard what they said. And so I think a lot of times people negate that second part of it and they will be quiet. Because I've been seeing a lot of memes going around about my brain when somebody's talking to me. And it'd be like a jumping rabbit. It'd be like all kind of stuff, me zoning out when someone's talking to me. That's not actively listening. You're just not there. And so when you respond, it's still going to be generic, even though you didn't interrupt them per se. Are you being self-absorbed? Is it too much self-absorption to where you
Honestly,
cannot take yourself out of your own mind to listen to what someone who you say you care about has to say?
ooh wee,
Like
ooh wee, ooh wee.
that's a that may be an issue that you need to address, because if you cannot have a long-standing conversation with someone who you say you care about without your mind drifting off to something else. And I'm not just talking about if y'all just casually talking. Sometimes you just be on the phone, you just shooting the breeze, you're doing whatever, washing dishes. It's just I'm talking about if somebody's like, hey, I really got to talk to you about something, and they're pouring their heart out, or they're being vulnerable, or they're sharing good news, they're sharing bad news, they're sharing whatever, and your mind at that moment can't be there to process it. There may be something going on that we need to
Yeah,
actually talk about.
yeah, it is. It is. It is. It is.
So I just really, yeah. So I guess my next question is, do we call them out or call them in? Have we had the conversation about call out and call in? I have a definition of this for myself.
Yeah, but let's revisit that.
Okay, let's revisit. So you have the calling out, which is normally happening all over social media, right? People, I mean, there are whole pages dedicated to people who are like, you wronged this person, so I'm going to find you and ruin your life. That's a call out. A call out is you just trying to blast someone, maybe not to the masses, but you put them in a situation where they feel like they are the outcast, right? Which there, I'll say this, there may be some scenarios where that is necessary, right? But for me in my life, a majority of my situations, what I like to do for people is call them in. So I want to make it aware of what's happening, give them an opportunity to eradicate the behavior, or like change it or whatever, and then move on from that. And these are especially people that I say I care about. So I want to just, I never want to like say this in front of a crowd. I never want to like have it out. Like, for instance, it was just you and your sister, right? Which was great. It was just you two.
No, it
But you
wasn't. It
had
was.
probably,
It actually it wasn't. It was. Actually,
well, see, that's
actually, it was me, my brother, and my sister. So I was very grateful where he was there, because then I could have a witness to this. So it wasn't just like I made it up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay, well, still, it wasn't a big crowd,
No, it
but you
wasn't.
had been, but that had been pent up, and so there was an outburst, right? It was
Mhm.
just like, you always do this. I feel like you're just not lit. So the call in for me would have alleviated the call out in front of someone else.
Mhm.
I don't feel the need to erupt because I've already talked to you about this in public. I mean, in
Mhm.
private.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, and I mean, not to say that you would have done this if somebody who wasn't your brother was around. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But like, still. So the call in is the giving them the self reflection for themselves, giving them the opportunity to excuse me, eradicate the behavior or change the behavior, or even acknowledge the behavior, talk it through, figure out what's going on, and then
Mhm.
move forward from there,
Mhm.
versus the, oh my god, you do this, you shouldn't be like, and you know what I'm saying, like the call outs. A lot of what's happening, a call out for me is that it equates to the cancel culture happening,
Which I don't agree with, because
which I'm
everybody
which
can be
I'm not
canceled, make
agreement. Yeah,
mistakes.
I'm not in agreement with the cancel culture. I
Mhm.
really never have been. I've said it before. I don't feel like a lot of these things, we're just not taking into account who we are as human beings. If
Mhm.
someone put a flashlight on your life today,
Period.
what would you be canceled for?
Period. Mhm.
It would
Absolutely.
99.9%. It
Absolutely.
would be something.
Mhm.
Something you would have been canceled for. And this is, people say, well, what about the people, like the I can't say the word because I don't want to get banned because I'm posting this on TikTok, but the
Mhm.
people who forcefully take stuff, or stuff like that.
Mhm.
I'm just not, no, if you really look at social media, those ain't the majority of the people we cancel.
Mhm.
We actually are canceling people who make a mistake,
Mhm.
and now their whole life is blown up. They done lost their job, they done lost
Yeah.
their house. And I feel like there's something innately wrong in taking satisfaction in the demise of someone else in that
Yeah.
manner. For
100%.
me, I
Mhm.
feel like that's innately wrong inside.
Mhm.
So, but that's another story for another day. So the calling in is more of a, I care about you. I want you to know that this is what you're doing, and I want to move forward in that. So you would say you're more of a call in person.
100%. If I'm being honest, it depends on the person. If I do anything, so some people,
If you do anything, okay,
yeah, it depends
that's
on the person.
real.
It depends on the relationship, because
Okay.
if I'm very close to you,
Hmm.
like we have a relationship. Every relationship isn't like this. Some relationships are like this. So
Yeah.
if it's like a person that's higher than you, am I gonna tell my boss
Hmm.
like, hey, you make things about you when they should, you take space from my mom? Probably not. You know,
I guess it depends, because
I
I
mean, it depends
may.
on your relationship
I
with your
think I
boss.
think I actually have before.
I mean, I think it depends on the relationship you have with that person. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't always told them that they do that. Because I think it depends on where the person is in life too. Like we have to
Okay.
look
Yeah,
at
that's
that,
fair.
because
Hmm.
maybe if they're in a traumatic place in their life,
Hmm.
it's like they tend to refocus on themselves a lot. They tend to like filter everything through their experience, right? It's like
I
they
can see
don't,
that.
because they're so full, they don't have
Hmm.
it to give to someone else, right? So I
Hmm.
think that you kind of got to look at, like, let's say you're going through a person. So I'm divorced, right? And so getting, when I was in that healing space, it was so many conversations where you just let me go, right? You let me talk about me, like when you could have full well talked about yourself, and you gave me extra space because you knew I was in a place of turmoil and pain, and I needed some extra attention because I was so um, rejected and dejected by the situation I had been through, right? And so I needed that attention from another source, right? And so you could have been like, oh, she just needs so much attention. But really, right now, I was just in a very, at that time, I was in a very broken, messed up place. And you gave me space to have those conversations where you really did not talk about yourself at all. At all. At all. Which brings me to another me. It was like a me on my way to see my best friend that I use as a therapist for free. It was kind of funny. That's my
I
free
have
therapy.
made the disclaimer. I have made the disclaimer that once I actually get licensed, we'll have to have a discussion. There may be conflicts of interest.
I
I don't
know.
know. We'll see.
I know. So,
But
but you gave me a lot of space because I was in a traumatized state. And I think some of us are walking through life in a traumatized space, and
mm-hmm.
then we're making these we're not able to give space to other people for what they're going through because we're perpetually traumatized, and so
Which is, yeah.
if we don't, oh, this is getting good, all right, Lord. Okay, so if we don't if we don't heal, we can't be there for anybody else. We can't show up
That's,
and give space for
yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
So, which brings it to the root of the situation. We aren't able to listen. We aren't able to show up. We're not able to give space. We're not able to let it be about them because we're so traumatized and in need and hungry for love and attention that we are soaking all the air out the room, sucking all
Mm-hmm.
the air out the room. And so
Yeah.
I think the key, if we're gonna go to solutions for this, um as a person that may be going through that, or maybe you are guilty of like being attention seeking or guilty of turning the focus on you a lot, it's like you probably need have some trauma in your life that needs to be addressed. Maybe you didn't get that attention as a child. I don't know, I'm not saying that, but maybe you were traumatized. Maybe you were in a very abusive or disruptive or disrespectful relationship. And though, so when you come to your friends, it's just like, oh, I finally have people that love me, and I can get the love I need from. Right. But there are people too, and they also need love. And relation and friendship should be mutually beneficial. Come on now. Okay. I need a ring. I need a ding 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 ding. I need an organ. Dun, dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun, dun,
dun,
dun, dun.
dun, dun. No, it should be mutually beneficial. I should be able to share
Yeah.
what's going on with me, and I show up for you. You show up for me, and then you should be able to share what's going on with you. I show up for you. Now, there are going to be times in our lives where there's trauma and drama, where you might have to show up more for me in a season, and then the next season I might have to show up more for you, whether it's death or a breakup or a divorce or whatever. And we know, but but we're gonna have to do that for each other. But relationship and friendship should be mutually beneficial, not just I'm
Yeah.
always the one that's there for you and you're never there for me. But also, friends, we have to look at what our friend is going through. Are they like going through hell right now? Well, they can't really show up for you like you want them to because they really ain't got it. And we can't be mad at that because they just don't have it. And
Yeah.
so it's that this is your moment for you to listen more and for you to encourage more and for you to allow them to vent and allow them to, really. But there were so many conversations, and I want to love you and give you your flowers and candies and roses and
No, no,
and
stop it,
play
stop
you a
it.
song and play a song because there were so many times you let me just go and you didn't like be like, well, I'm going through this, how dare you. You were like, this girl is in pain and a hot freaking mess, and let me just let her let it out. And you have done that for me, and I cannot ever repay you for giving me that space to do that and not be like,
Oh,
Happy
girl, it's been
birthday.
mutual.
You know.
I've been in Hell's Kitchen, hot like fire, like a Leah. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
Yeah. And
So it
so
feel like that
we got to be able to do that for each other.
reciprocity.
And reciprocity, yes. And if I'm not showing up for you when you're going through, you got the right to call me out and be like, baby girl,
Now,
I
come
need, this is
on now,
my
the
moment. I
receipts.
need you right now.
Okay.
I need you.
I
Yeah.
need That's the thing though. So I totally agree with that. And I'm because yes, relationships always need to be linear, but I think when we hear linear, we always think of 50-50, which is not true.
Not true.
Sometimes relationships will be 70-30. Sometimes they'll be 20-80. Sometimes they'll be 10-90. Sometimes they will be 50-50. Sometimes they'll be 60-40. Like there are so many situations, and this is in every relationship, right? This is in a romantic relationship, friendship. I think the only time where it may be more equal than not is business partnership, and even then, there may be people who pick up the slack when you don't have it to
You don't
give.
have it.
Which is why it's important to get in business with people you respect and you trust.
Yeah.
That's another story. So I think for you saying that, yeah, I was able to relax and be like, I'm just gonna give her the floor and let her say what she needs to say. And not to say that this was a precedent for it, but we had already built the rapport that you had been there for me and I could be there for you. And it was never I'm always the one. Because what happens when the quote unquote strong friend
Mm-hmm.
never has someone to say these
That's
things
not
to?
good. That's not
It's not
good.
good. It's not good. And this is a shameless plug. We have a conversation on Strong Friend. It's okay to say no. That's the episode title. You can go back and listen to that. That's one of our earlier episodes. We'll probably revisit that with Tarrah again, but that was a very good conversation between me and Miki. If you want to know how it feels to be the strong friend and how you can say no.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, it's like you have to build that connection. You can't always be the receiver. You have to outpour sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think where people need to be aware is if you can never outpour. If it's
Mm-hmm.
always a receive and I just got to drain my well into you
Mm-hmm.
and you can never drain your well back into me, then where are we?
Mm-hmm.
What are we? Who am I actually to you? Am I actually just someone you consider a therapist that you don't pay? Am I actually just a sounding board so you
That's
can get this
wow.
out? Am I
Wow.
actually just someone so I don't feel like I'm talking to myself? I just need somebody to talk to. Like we gotta pay attention to the way that people interact with us on those levels because people will use you. They will use you if
Mm-hmm.
you don't pay attention,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you present yourself as safe,
Mm-hmm.
as someone who is unassuming or has a safe presence about you
Mm-hmm.
or has this calmness about you.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had to learn this as someone who is a sounding board, who
Mm-hmm.
is someone who has a ministry for listening and wanting to be there and aid people. I have realized people will, it's a term, I'm not even gonna say that because that's not really the true definition of that. But they will dump their traumas onto you. I don't
Yeah.
want to say trauma dump because
Dumping. It is a
that's not
dumping
really
is a
the.
word though.
But it's a dumping. It is trauma dumping is a term, but that's not the term that means something totally different that social
Mm-hmm.
media has made it into. But yeah, they will dump their worries and their cares and the ways and the woes of the world
Mm-hmm.
onto you and
Mm-hmm.
be like, I have been going through all of this and I say it like this. I think a gauger for me
Mm-hmm.
is the way I feel after I talk to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I use that over and over and over again, right?
Mm-hmm.
If every time I talk to you I'm depleted,
Mm.
I am
Powerful.
just tired.
Mm-hmm.
I am just over it. I don't even have the energy to give to myself because I've already given it all to you,
Mm-hmm.
then that's telling of this relationship lies and who I am to you and what I need to do to move forward, because it can't always be a situation where I feel depleted every
Not
time I talk to you.
always. Not
Not
always.
always.
Not
And I
always.
mean, even going back to, if I'm being quite frank, I never necessarily felt depleted when you were going through your situation and you had to outpour and get things off of your chest. Yes, emotionally it was a lot, and even we would pray, we would just do different things, but it was never a situation where I was like, man, I'm gonna ignore Tara call the next time she call me.
Oh, thank you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I just can't got it in me. And you know those people in your life who
For
you like,
real. For
ooh,
real.
they done
In
called
real life.
me. I can't deal with that right now. I just am not gonna answer because I
Mhm.
ain't got it. You might need to evaluate what's going on, because that person is really a succubus, for lack of better terms. And they ain't watering you like the plant that you are. We are all plants,
Mhm.
and we all need to, and I say that metaphorically because I love plants, I like gardening, I like these kind of things. You get out of the soil what you sow into it and what you do.
Mhm.
So if someone is not watering you, and not to say that they should be your only watering source, but they
Shouldn't.
should be giving some kind of sprinkler system or something into you
Yeah.
when you talk to them, to make you feel like you're growing, or you're doing something, or you're able to shed your dead leaves,
Yeah.
or you know what I'm saying, like it has to be some kind of mutual benefit. And so I know that attention seekers have their reasons, and you're so right. It's trauma. You feel like you've never been able to do this. And I understand that. But if you're not willing to deal with it on a
Yeah,
mainstream
man.
level within yourself, you cannot expect me to hold the weight of the world for you and me on my shoulders. You
Mhm.
can't even do that for your spouse. I don't think that's fair. I don't
Mhm.
think it's fair for you to go into a marriage or a relationship and not have handled the dealings and the
Yeah.
trauma and the issues that you've gone through, because you're going to
100%.
eventually put it onto them.
100%.
So we as friends really
Honest.
have to do a good job of looking at that in the full aspect, for sure.
100%. 100%. I think that this idea of that you said something so powerful. You were just like, it's not always going to be 50-50. Oftentimes it's not. It's going to be seasons in relationship and
Mm-hmm.
friendship that
Yeah.
somebody's more in need. Somebody's down and somebody up. And they kind of have to balance it up. And then somebody up and somebody down. And then they got to do this kind of balancing. Somebody's serving more, somebody's listening more. And then it's their turn. But when it's your turn to listen, can you do it? Is the
Can
question.
you do it?
Can
And
you
that
do it?
translates for me a lot of times. We
Mm-hmm.
don't really equate our ability to show up in those small ways of just
Mm-hmm.
listening to the
Mm-hmm.
ability to show up in the bigger ways.
Yeah.
They really do correlate. If
Mm-hmm.
someone can show up for you in those ways of just being a listening board, oftentimes they'll show up for you physically when you
Mm-hmm.
need help, when you need that. And and I will never forget the people who have shown up for me when I was down bad, when I
That's
needed
bad.
help, when I didn't have it, when
Mm-hmm.
I just needed somebody to and I'm talking about these. I got people in my corner who ain't ask no questions. What you need? I got you. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So it's like, I'll never forget that. And
Mm-hmm.
those are the people who leave markers in your life to let you know that there are good people out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can open yourself up and be friends and do these things and trust. And you know what I'm saying? It just takes a few individuals to show you that. And so I think we have to really you want to create a space for people to encourage themselves, for sure, in healthy ways, and always have them, let them know you're going to be there for them.
Mm-hmm.
But that whole, the Bonnie and Clyde mythology will trickle over to friendships oftentimes, and I don't believe in that. in either space.
Mm.
I shouldn't have to prove, I shouldn't have to show up for you in the way that I'm uncomfortable showing up
Mm-hmm.
to prove that I care about you.
To prove, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking for me to prove my love, that means you're doing secret tests, you're doing secret quizzes that I don't know anything about. I don't know if I'm failing or passing or whatever. I'm on this pedestal. I don't
What
even
grade
know
am I
what grade am I in? Have I gotten out of grade school? Have I gone on to high school? Am I in college? What's going on?
in? Mm-hmm.
Um, and then that also comes with a pedestal that you never asked to be on.
Yeah. Can
And
I
then
ask?
if I don't show up,
Mm-hmm.
now I'm nothing.
That's tough. And I didn't even know how
Now
I
I ain't
could.
never been there for you.
Yeah, yeah. All or nothing. It's an all or
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah. Can I add something to that? You know, I think we all kind of we have a knowing about the friends that we have. You got the friend
Hmm.
that's gonna fight somebody. You ain't got to tell them.
Man,
They're
yeah.
gonna fight. They just gonna fight. And then you
Yep.
got the friend is the diplomat. They're gonna talk about it. Well, let's think about this logically, right? Let's
Hmm.
think about all sides of it and like really understand and unpack this, right? You got the diplomat. And then you got the friend,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? You got your friends that for different stuff and you kind of know what what each one is gonna do.
Yeah, you
We all got
explained our friend
friends.
group pretty extensively. That's our trio. We know who is going who and who going who.
You know who to call for what.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I can't. You never gonna call me for a violent uproar, like a violent
Absolutely
or
not.
a violent fight. I'm not that girl. Ain't never been that girl, and I won't ever be that girl.
Absolutely not. I just got to
But
pause. Do you remember that episode of Girlfriends where they got into that group fight and John was like, I'm calling the police. I'm calling the police. That would be you, friend. I'm
I'm
calling
not
the
her.
cops. I'm calling the cops.
I'm not her. I'm not the fighter. I'm.
That's
You
fair.
know what? In high school, I was voted best personality and biggest heart. Those are my strengths. I can use my personality to have a conversation and get some understanding, get some clarity, and
Hmm.
maneuver some stuff.
I
You understand what I'm saying?
appreciate that.
But
You
I'm not.
can.
But I'm not gonna be up and flip the tables and fight everybody and then be like,
Nah.
what had happened? That's not me, cause
Nah.
I'm too logical. I'm thinking too much. I'm moving in my mind. I'm moving 5 ways from Tuesday. So I that's not me. So don't try to make me something that I'm not. You understand what I'm saying? But
Hmm.
we know. So if you know you got a friend that struggle in the area, the question is, do you call them? Do you tell them? Honestly, I haven't always been good at that. Sometimes I tell them, sometimes I don't. In
Yeah.
my mind, I'm assessing capacity. If I'm being honest, some people I'll be like they don't have capacity. Even if I told you, I don't think you could change it right now. I honestly don't think you have capacity to change. Now, that could be me. I could be wrong, and I could own that 100%. And
Yeah.
so I haven't always called people out, like not call people out, but always communicated, like, hey, I feel like this is this. It just really depends. It depends on a lot of things. And I think that it would help people if we were honest.
Hmm.
But you really kind of need to assess it because maybe they're not in a place to receive it. But only you know that, only God knows that, and I would encourage you to be led. But sometimes, if you know they're in a traumatized state, okay, they're in a traumatized state, like something tragic and traumatic has recently happened. They're still dealing with it. They're still healing from it. I don't, unless it's like ridiculous. I don't know if it's the time to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're not really trying to be a bad friend. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think
But I
the
do. What are you saying?
go ahead. Finish your
I
thought.
do want to say something collectively as women that we could do better. I think we could do a better job at listening to men as women.
Man, we really actually could. I totally agree with that. I totally agree with
Yeah.
that. I
Because they're not going
totally
to
agree
fight
with
for
that.
the floor. They're not gonna fight for the floor. And once they realize that you're not gonna be a good listener, they're gonna let you have it. And then they're not gonna talk, right? They're not gonna share. And we cry and we want to know what they are really feeling. But if you're in a friendship with a male or a relationship with a male, I would encourage you to just be quiet sometimes. If they talking about their
Sometimes,
day, ask them about their
yeah.
day. Ask them details about what's going on. Ask them how they felt about it. Man, well, what did you think? Okay, then what happened? And what did he say? Really get in tune with what's going on with them so that they can really get this stuff off their chest. You know what I'm saying? Really have a place, a soft place to land. You know, somebody told me I was recently talking to a guy. Nothing romantic, just so y'all know. I'm single.
I
No,
mean, you sexy out
I'm
here.
single.
You
No,
cute.
okay.
You
Anyway,
cute. People be out here in your inbox.
do they? Okay, well, that's another conversation for another. And the guy was like, "Man, you're a really good listener." And saying that to say, I was like, "Oh wow, I have really come a long way because I was not a good listener, y'all. I was a terrible listener. I was an attention seeker. I didn't know what I was doing. I was not self aware. As I grew and developed, I realized, hey, you're not doing a good job at being a listener. You're not doing a good job at allowing them, giving them space, and really being genuinely interested in
That's
what they
the
have to say.
kicker. You have to actually be interested in
Actually
what
mean
the
it
person is. That's why I said the
for real."
active listening. It's not just listening. It's not just stopping the listening to respond and listening to understand. It's the listening to understand and respond to key details to let the person know that you heard what they said. Those
Yes,
matter.
it really matters, and it makes them feel valued, validated. Makes people
Mhm.
feel valued. It makes people feel important. It makes people feel like they matter. And so, if you can provide all that from one conversation with somebody, why wouldn't you? Wow, what
Yeah,
could you do? What that conversation could have saved them from whatever. Who knows? So I think, and not to just make it about men or women, but men literally use less words than women today. Literally,
that's a scientific
physiologically,
fact. Yeah.
like they literally say less words. Like women say almost like three times the words of some. It's a stat or something. So it's important that we really we do this, and when they really do share, I really believe that we could do such a better, like we could really be a better to the people in our lives if we just did this sometimes.
I agree with that. And I think if you have female friends and you all chat a lot, I think practicing on listening to what they have to say will help with that. You actually just listening and just being a sounding board for sure will help with that. So I agree with that. Um, that's interesting that you put that in there because as someone who does have a male best friend and it's purely platonic, it's always been platonic. Nothing ever happened.
After me. He's after me. I'm first. Okay, anyway, continue with this.
That's why I said a male best friend. That's why I
I
said
don't
a male
care. I'm
best
still number
friend.
one.
That's why I said a male best friend.
I'm
Where it's
number one.
purely platonic and we're good. You learn
Got it.
stuff. You really do learn stuff. You're like, man, and that's why I said purely platonic and like never because people will be best friends with the opposite sex and you just will never know that they plotting or they doing
Plotting.
whatever or you know what I'm saying like that's another story for another day. But so all right, I guess the last question is for someone who is a bit more of an attention hogger, an attention seeker, is this something that can be rectified, you feel like, to maintain a friendship with someone or a
100%.
relationship?
100% can be rectified. If they love you and
Mhm.
they are not a narcissist, sorry.
Boy,
If
boy,
they're
boy,
not a
boy,
narcissist,
boy.
um, it can be rectified.
Because
Now,
that's
if they
another, that is
are,
another conversation. If they're a narcissist, then you need to be looking for all the signs, baby, and get out of Dodge. Run to the west.
I know a lot of narcissistic people that have really a lot of friends. But I mean, it really depends. So here's what
They
I'm
have a
saying.
lot of people
I'm partly
around.
joking,
They're
you
not
guys.
friends.
Okay, got it. I'm partly joking. Here's what I'm saying. If the person is willing to assess themselves, can have the self awareness to look
Yeah.
at themselves and self reflect and
Hmm.
say, "Hey, I didn't do that well. I didn't handle that well." And I have room to grow in this area of listening. I have room to grow in this area of giving space to other people, right?
Hmm.
If they can self reflect and then make adjustments, 100% the relationship can be saved and salvaged. If they aren't good at that, if they deflect and defense and reject and you're the problem and now make you the issue and but you didn't do this, you're gonna have some problems. And so the only way you're gonna know is if you address it.
Exactly. I completely agree with that. Always bring it up, and always say what you mean and mean what you say. Think
Hmm.
about the words that are coming out of your mouth thoroughly and address it. The truth doesn't have to be brash, nor does it
It
have to be
doesn't.
hurtful.
It
So
doesn't.
that's a misconception. You can be in truth and in love at the same time. Um, so I completely agree with that. I think so too. I think feelings of obligation to give attention can make you feel a certain type of way, especially without it being provoked. So I think it's important to address it early on, meaning I live by this rule, and this is another rule that I learned in business. One time is something, it just happens. Two times is coincidence. Three or more times is a pattern. So now, if you're doing this consistently three, four, five, six times, that's not just a happenstance. This is actually your character. This is a pattern. This is what you do. This is who you are. And now we probably need to address this. Um,
Yeah, I would say last thing. If you Let's take Amanda Seals, for example, the
mhm,
new interview, the Club Shay Shay interview. And
mhm,
people, had the idea that, hey, in this situation, Amanda Seals is the victim in every single scenario that she talked about. She never
mhm.
addresses what she did wrong or anything that she did or anything like that. If you are the victim in every scenario, who gets all the attention?
The
The
victimized.
vic- the victimized person.
Mhm.
And it's and as they should, because they are the one in crisis. So, but if you carry this victim mentality about yourself and you are constantly and consistently in crisis, when you enter rooms with other people, it's always going to be about you. It's always going to be, the attention always has to be on you because you are the victim, and because you carry that mentality, that's what you present, and that's how you operate with other people. So saying that to say, if you struggle to be present for others, you might have a victimhood, or a be carry this victimized status within yourself. And not to say that you haven't been a victim, but to be victimized is a mindset. To walk in constant victimhood is a mindset. And I would encourage you to overcome that mindset and not see yourself as this constant victim. You have to begin to see yourself as, that is what I have been through, but that's not who I am. That
Yeah,
might have been my experience, but that doesn't define me
right.
as a person. I am a person I'm an overcomer. I am, a leader. I am, all of these amazing things that you are. So if you see yourself as that, now I can show up and be present for you because I'm not the victim anymore. Even
Mm-hmm.
though I have in the past been victimized,
Mm-hmm.
but I could be present with you because I'm not constantly in this state of victimhood. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll say this, and it's not necessarily the same wavelength as Amanda Seals, but I think someone who did a really good job of rebranding and not living in that victimhood was Rihanna. I
Mm-hmm.
think she really
Very
like.
good.
I think
She did an amazing
she
job.
not only like took it and said it's not going to stop me from being who I want to be, but I'm going to, use that, become a global icon, become someone that women can look up to, and really just like hone in on the lessons that it taught me. And even in interviews, she has, this was,
She literally,
she's
nobody
talked
talks
about
about
it.
it.
They don't talk about it now, but even in the past when they
Nobody's talking
did,
about it now.
there's no question. They don't even bring it up. Um,
And kudos to her PR,
for
kudos to her
doing
team
that, and it,
that had rebranded her.
it was a rebrand, and I think
It
even
was a total
when
rebrand.
even she was asked about it when it was fresh off of the presses, and it was very still detrimental and just really traumatizing to her. Um, she mentioned that this is not what she wanted to be remembered as and what she wanted to be remembered by,
Wow.
and then they shifted the narrative over to see who
Yes.
she is today, and now no one would ever even dare bring it up.
Who's gonna bring that up to her? Nobody. You've
Yeah,
done too much. That is like the least of it. We're not bringing that up. You know what I'm saying? So
you don't have to
saying
be
that, I think,
reduced to your lowest point in your story.
yes. Did you go through that? Did it make you powerful? And who are you in this powerful
Hmm.
space that you're in now? And powerful people can show up for other people.
Yeah,
They can give space because they're not they're in a place where they're healthy and they're in a place where they're whole and they can give space to others and they can show up for
they
others.
can. I think the last thing I'll say about that with victimhood, it's not just about the way that you show up and other people show up. It's the fact that oftentimes when you do live in victimhood, a lot of times people don't want to show up. They actually don't want to be a part of that because it's just like sometimes it can be too much for people, especially if they deal with their own trauma
Mm-hmm.
um, or they've overcome, and it's like a I need you to overcome as well. I know you can do it type of scenario. So I think that's really interesting. Yeah, I did notice that people were saying that was a huge takeaway from that interview, and I think you don't have to be your lowest points. You don't have to be a correlation or a culmination, I should say, of the lowest times that you've been in your life. You can be way more than that. And it doesn't even have to be a conversation after a while. There are so many other instances that I can think about where individuals have had very low points in their lives and they just don't come up anymore because that's just
Mm-hmm.
not what they have tried to carry or identify themselves as they move forward in their journey. So um setting clear boundaries I think helps um
Yeah,
to manage
I love the
behavior.
fact. Yeah, I love the fact that our relationship with ourselves is what allows our relationship with others to be great.
Hmm.
At the core, our ability to relate to ourselves and love ourselves and see ourselves beyond what we've been through allows us to be in a place to be good friends to others
Absolutely.
and show up and listen for others. So, as I healed and as we all heal, we can be a better friend.
Healing. You have a song about that. You have a song about
I
healing.
do. The song's called Hurt Ones, and it's about how hurt people, but heal people.
Heal people.
So when
Mm-hmm.
I'm a healed person, I can be a great friend to other people. But when I'm just in this place of like complete distraught, I can't really show up for others. So I do have a song about that.
Yep. Think about a broken mirror walking around. Broken glass is gonna cut a lot of people. So
Yeah.
get your mirrors in order, people. Get yourselves
Yes.
together.
Yes, I love that.
Do you have any final words for the people before we close out today?
My final word is just let's listen. Let's listen. LL. Let's be better listeners. Let's be better listeners. And if you're not a good listener right now, it's okay. The first step is admitting that you're not a good listener. Like, you know what? I don't think I'm a good listener. I don't think I listen to my husband. I don't think I really listen to my kids. I don't think I really listen to my friends. I don't really think I be listening to people. And you can own that and sit on that and chew on that and say, man, and if you got to go make some apologies, do that. Say, you know what? I really haven't been a good listener to you. And
That's
I apologize
good.
for that.
Go
That's
back
something.
and acknowledge if these are relationships you want to keep, and even if they aren't, don't let people make you the villain. Go back and apologize.
Yeah, go back and say, you know what? I was not doing well at that. I could have been so much better at listening to you, and I'm sorry for that, and I'm working on that. I'm gonna grow in that area, and then really grow, and then really be aware. Now you have an awareness. Now you have a new lens that you can see the world through,
Mm-hmm.
and so next time someone's having their moment, tell you about their new job, or tell you that they're pregnant, or tell you that they're engaged, follow it up, ask them about it, be present in the moment, celebrate
Mm-hmm.
with those. The Bible has this one verse that says, rejoice with those who rejoice. Like, rejoice with them, like, experience that moment with them and let it fly. And next time it'll be your moment when it's your time. But be present.
Be present.
Let's listen.
Let's listen. I think that's a good ender. And with that, this is our quote of the day that we have that I found, which was I thought was pretty interesting. It is, we are told to let our light shine, and if it does, we won't need to tell anybody it does. Lighthouses
Mm,
don't fire cannons to call attention to their shining. They just shine. Dwight L.
wow.
Moody. Um,
That's awesome. What a quote.
Yes, I love that quote. So you have tuned into another episode of the Friendship University podcast. You know where to find us. We are at Funny Podcast on all platforms. That is FUNIPODCAST. That is on Twitter. That is on Instagram. That is on the TikTok, the clock band before the clock strikes noon. You can also find us on YouTube. We have the visual podcast out now. You can find all the descriptions in the description box below. And we can't wait to have another discussion with you all next week. Until then, peace out.